What's going on, guys? My name is Dale from Create a Pro Website, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make a personal or portfolio website step by step. So here is the website that I'm going to show you how to make. It uses WordPress, which is completely free, and I'll show you how to edit everything. I'll show you how to create an About Me section, create these icons that grow and turn different colors, and you can change them to any icon you want. I'll show you how to create a videos section to add your videos, as well as hook up your subscribe button, or you can change it to anything that you want. I'll show you how to add a gallery to your website, and all of these are clickable into a lightbox, which people can sift through. And then I'll also show you how to create a skills section. So right here I have it set as web design, but you can change it to any one of your skills that you want and show off some of your work with these images. I'll show you how to hook up your Instagram feed to your website so that as you update your Instagram, it will update live on your website. And then you can also load more to show more of your Instagram photos. And the sections will automatically resize because this entire website is 100% responsive to desktop, tablet, and mobile. And then I'll also show you how to create an awesome contact form, as well as edit the buttons up here at the top, which will jump to different sections on your website just by clicking on them. And these are called jump buttons. And this entire website is built using an awesome drag and drop page builder that allows you to have 100% customization over your website, and it's super easy to use. So in order to design our website for this tutorial, we're going to be using a program called WordPress. So why are we using WordPress? Well, it's because it's the world's most popular website builder on the market. And the best part is that it's completely free. So you may see ads out there on YouTube or Google for companies like Wix or Squarespace or any others that are trying to get you to buy their website builder. Well, again, WordPress is free and it powers over 30% of the entire internet. So they don't need to promote ads to you. So needless to say, it's the best program to use. So before we get started, I want to mention a couple other things that we're going to be needing during this tutorial. So the first one is a domain name. And a domain name is basically just yourdomain.com. And this is going to cost about $5. And the second thing that we're going to be needing is web hosting. And web hosting is somewhere around $2 to $7 a month, depending on the plan that you pick. And web hosting is basically just renting space on a server somewhere that's connected to the internet, so that you can fill that server with all of your text and pictures and videos and buttons, and then you can publish your website live for the entire world to see. And web hosting companies have buildings filled with these servers where you can rent the space for really cheap. And I have a special discount code here for all my viewers at Create a Pro Website where you can get that space and a domain name for very cheap. So stick around to get that. Now, yes, you could get a free website somewhere with one of these other companies, but there are a lot of downsides to having a free website, which are: you will not own your own domain name. It would be something like yourdomain.wix.com or .squarespace.com or whoever is hosting this free website for you. You can't upload plugins to help with the functionality of your website, and you're also limited to a very small number of themes for the customization of your website, and you can't upload new ones. You also can't monetize your website with ads in order to make money with it. And your website could be deleted at any point if the hosting provider feels like you have violated their terms of service. So that's why I recommend getting web hosting. Okay, so let's move on to step number 1, which is to get a domain name and web hosting. So to do that, just simply click on the very first link below this video, and that will take you to a special co-branded landing page that I have with HostGator.com. And HostGator is the company that I host all of my websites with. I've got dozens with them because they're fast, reliable, and affordable. And again, I have that special discount code for you. Or you can also just go up to your browser and type in createaprowebsite.com/hosting. And that will take you there as well. Okay, so as you can see, there are 3 different plans here. And the one that they recommend, and as well as the one that I recommend, is the Hatchling plan. And this is going to be your cheapest plan. And this is going to give you a single domain. Now, if you know that you want to have multiple domains under one hosting account, then you'll want to go with the Baby plan, which gives you unlimited domains. And the business plan I really only recommend if you're starting to make lots of money with your website. But what you can do is start with the hatchling, and then you can upgrade later to a baby or a business if you choose to. So I recommend starting with the hatchling plan. So I'm just going to click on Buy Now. So here is where we're going to be getting our new domain name. And if you already own a domain name that you want to use, you can just click on this tab right here. But in this case, I'm going to get a new one. Now, I already own dalemcmanus.com, which it's going to come up in red. Just like that. Sorry, this domain is not available. So I already own that domain, so it's going to tell me that it's not there. So what I'm going to do is just change this to mcmanusdale.com, which I totally get is a little silly to do the last name first, but for the sake of this tutorial, it totally works. And it comes up in green and shows you that it is available. So with that said, I recommend sticking to a .com. So you can see there's lots of others here, like .club, .net, .space. I recommend sticking with a .com because it's really just the most professional looking. So I'm going to scroll down and make sure that you have the domain privacy added to your domain name. I highly recommend keeping this checked. Otherwise, if you don't, then whenever you buy your domain name and your hosting plan, your personal info is going to be public for telemarketers and solicitors to see, and then they're just going to call you just every day. It's super annoying. I made the mistake of not getting this on my very first website, and I really wish I had, because I got called like 6 times a day. So just make sure that you have that checked. And now we are going to scroll down, and here is where you can choose a hosting plan. So I'm going to make sure that my package type says hatchling, or if you went with one of the others, just double check that it's the right one. And then here we've got our billing cycle, and it's automatically set to 36 months, which is going to be our cheapest. So that's going to be 61% off because it's using that special discount code if you clicked on that very first link in the description to get over to this page. So what you can do is also change it to 12 months, which is my recommendation if you're just getting started and you're buying your domain name for about 12 months as well. There's no other shorter term. So I say you might as well buy your hosting plan for 12 months as well. And it's still 50% off. That's only $4.48 a month. Really not that bad. Now let's say that you're just getting started, like this is your first website ever, you've never touched web design before, and you just want to get your feet wet to see if you like it, then you can always do the 1 month, which is only $7 a month, and it's still 30% off. So let's just say that that's what you're going to do. I'm going to create a username now, which is just my name and my last name, and then a security pin. And then scroll down, and here is where you can put in your billing info in order to pay for it. And you can do credit card or PayPal. I choose to do credit card. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill in all of this information really quick and skip through that just so I don't bore you. Okay, so scrolling down to the Add Additional Services section, here you're going to want to uncheck Protect your site from hackers, as well as uncheck Backup your hard work. And the reason is because I have videos on my channel that show you how to do these things completely for free, as well as get a professional email for your website. I've got a tutorial on that as well, so I will list those in the description in case you want to check those out. Again, just leave all of this unchecked, and then just scroll down and make sure that your coupon code says Create a Pro Website, which it does. And this is my affiliate link, so I am legally obligated to tell you that I do also get a little bit of commission off of this, but it saves you a lot of money to use it, and it also helps fund these free YouTube tutorials that I'm putting out. So it's a win-win for both of us. But if you don't like me for whatever reason and you don't want to use it, you don't have to. You can still follow along with the tutorial and make the website. But you will not be able to find a better coupon code anywhere on the internet that's going to save you as much as this one. Okay, so scrolling down, just double check that everything's correct. So our domain name went from $18 down to only $5. And our 1 month of hatchling went from $10 to $7. And then the add-ons is just your domain privacy protection, and that's a one-time charge. And then the total comes out to $27.61, which is really not bad at all. So I'm just going to check that I've read and agreed to the terms of service, and then I'm just going to click on Checkout Now. Cool, so now HostGator is setting up your account. So just go ahead and give this about a minute. All right, so once that's done, it's gonna take you to something that might look like this, and it's gonna give you this little, have you made a website before? We're just gonna hit the X to get out of that. And now instead of answering this question here, what we're gonna do is go over to your email, the one that you use to sign up for HostGator with, and you should have a few emails. And one of them is a no reply email from HostGator that says your account info. And you're gonna see all your account info right here. And what you're going to want to do is take this password right here and copy it, because you're going to be needing that in just a minute. So go ahead and copy that password, and then you'll see your control panel right here with a link. So just go ahead and click on that link. And then that's going to take you to the login to get into your control panel for your account. So what we're going to do is just type in our username, which we created, and then paste in that crazy password, and then just click on login. Okay, so from this page, now we can move on to step number 2, which is to install WordPress. So WordPress is actually very easy to install. So one way that you could do it is just by simply clicking on WordPress installer right here. Or if for some reason you don't see that in your popular links here, then you can just go on over to Website Essentials and click on that. And then underneath Site Builders and CMS, this should automatically come up, and you'll just see WordPress right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and just click on that. And then all you need to do is just to select your domain, which there mine is right there, and then leave this as directory, and then just click on next. And then just give your website a title, which you can always change this later. I'm just gonna give it my name because it is my personal website. And then I'm gonna say admin user is my name, and then just write in my first name, last name, and then admin email, which I recommend using the same one that you signed up with HostGator with. And then just agree to the terms of service, and then just click on install. Cool, so WordPress is installing, and just like that, it is already done. So now all you wanna do is just go over to this information right here, and you're gonna want to copy this crazy password now and save that somewhere on your computer, because we're gonna need that in order to log into WordPress. And then I'm gonna show you how to change it to your own custom password. But getting this password is very important, so make sure that you copy that. Now, yes, you could click on this little yellow login button right here to sign into WordPress, but that's not the way that you should get used to signing in, because eventually this little yellow login button is gonna go away. And the real way that you should get used to signing into WordPress to edit your website at any time is by going up to a new tab, typing in your new domain name, .com/wp-admin, just like that, and then click enter. Now, if you do not see a page that looks like this, that's totally okay. Basically, what's happening is HostGator has to send out your new domain name across the entire world to basically let every system in the world know that, hey, this domain name is now registered and exists. And this process could take up to around an hour. Usually for me, it only takes about 30 minutes. But they do say it could take up to 24 hours. But don't panic if you don't see this page just yet. You might be looking at a page that looks something like this. So I recommend just giving it anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour to propagate, and then come back and check on your website again by typing in your domain name, .com/wp-admin. Okay, so now let's go ahead and sign into our website. So I'm gonna type in my username, which was just my name, and then I'm gonna paste that crazy password that we copied, and then just click on login. And then it's going to ask you to verify your email, which mine looks correct. So I'm going to say this email is correct. And here we are inside the WordPress dashboard, and it looks crazy with all of this stuff everywhere. So what we're going to do is just clean this up a bit. So just hit the X on literally everything that you see. Just dismiss everything and close it all. Close all these little windows here until it looks more like this. It's a little less daunting and easier to find things. Okay, so first, really what we want to do is change that crazy password to a custom one that we're going to be able to remember. So in order to do that, just go over to your left-hand menu here, which is where you're going to find everything. And what you want to do is go over to users and then just go over to all users. And then you'll just want to click on your name right here. And then scroll all the way down to the bottom and you'll see account management and new password. So I'm just going to click on generate password. And we're going to delete this other crazy obnoxious one that it gives us, and we're going to be putting in our new one. So I recommend just going with something that you use for everything else, but something that's strong and secure. So now with that said, I'm going to click on update profile. Cool, so now we can move on to step number 3, which is to activate a new theme. Our theme in this case for this tutorial is going to determine the look of our header and our footer. So in order to get a new theme, what we're going to do is just go on over to Appearance and then go over to Themes. And then if we scroll down, you can see that these are our themes that are currently installed. And these are the automatic ones. And you can see our active one is 2019. So in order to actually see that, just going up to your name and then go over to Visit Site. And I'm just going to open that up in a new tab. And this is what our current theme looks like. It's super boring. There's nothing on it. So we are going to change that. So cancel out of that and go back to your themes. And we're just going to hit this big Add New Theme plus button. And then from here, we can just search for new themes. So there's a little search bar right here at the top right. Just go ahead and type in Astra, like that, A-S-T-R-A. And then you'll see it right here, it says Astra. So just go ahead and click on Install for that theme. This is an awesome theme that I've used tons of times. And then just go ahead and click on Activate. Cool, so now with your theme activated, before we can actually start customizing our website, we're going to need to get a few plugins. So that brings us to step number 4, which is to activate plugins. So the first plugin that we're going to be needing is called Elementor, and it's a page builder that allows you to drag and drop and customize your website visually. So let's go ahead and get that. So just go on over to Plugins and then go over to Add New. And then from here, you can just go to the search bar, just like you did with the themes. And we're going to type in Elementor. Cool. And then you'll see Elementor Page Builder right here. And it's got over 3 million active installations and 5 stars. So you know that it's a super legit plugin. That's awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Install Now. And then just click Activate. Cool. So now the next plugin that we're going to be getting is called Essential Add-ons for Elementor. And this is going to give us a bunch of extra tools that we can use in Elementor. So we're going to go back over to Plugins down here and then go over to Add New again. And then just go back to the search bar and you can actually just type in Elementor again. And then you should see Essential Add-ons for Elementor right here. So just go ahead and click on Install Now. And then click Activate. And this plugin is super important. It's got lots of cool tools. Okay, now the last plugin that we're going to be needing is our social media plugin. It's what's going to allow us to hook up our Instagram feed to our homepage so that as we update our Instagram, it will update live on our website. So in order to do that, just go back to Plugins and go over to Add New once again. And then we're just going to scroll down and go to the search bar. And I'm just going to type in Instagram. And it's the first one right here that says Smash Balloon Social Photo Feed. So if for some reason it didn't come up when you typed in Instagram, just type in Smash Balloon Social Photo Feed and you should see it. And it's got 900,000 active installations. I've used it dozens of times for different websites. So it's awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Install Now and then click Activate. Okay, so now with all of our plugins activated, now we can move on to step number 5, which is to customize your website. So now we're getting into the fun part where we can actually start dragging and dropping and building our website. But before we can do that, we actually need to create a new page and tell WordPress to use that as our home page, because right now it's just empty. So in order to create a new page, just go on over to Pages and then go to Add New. And then just go ahead and cancel out of this little box here. And here you can add a title. So I'm just going to say homepage. And nobody's actually going to see this title for this particular page. And then over here on the right, if you just close the asterisk settings right here and then open up page attributes, this is a very important step. What you want to do is change the default template to Elementor full width. That is very important. So with that said, now just go ahead and click on publish and then publish again. And now with that home page created, we now need to tell our theme, which is Astra, to use this page as our home page. So it's a little confusing. Let me show you. So all you have to do is just go on up to your site name and go to visit site. And then see, as you can see here, it's not actually using that home page. It's using one of our posts, which is just an automatic one that WordPress gives you. So what we're going to do is just click on customize. And then inside this menu over here on the left, just scroll down to homepage settings and open that up. And then just click on a static page right here. And then for the home page, we're just going to select the home page that we made. Just like that. Cool. So now it's using that page that we created. And as you can see, we've got our header and our footer that are right up against each other. Basically, there's nothing in between them. So that's what we're going to be using Elementor for. We're going to be using Elementor's drag and drop page builder to start throwing in all these cool widgets and everything to customize our site. So now let's go ahead and do that. So just go ahead and click on publish in order to save your work. And then just go ahead and click on the X. Okay, so now just going over to edit page. And then whenever you're brought to this page, we can just go ahead and click on edit with Elementor. So now that opens up Elementor Page Builder, and Elementor is awesome. So we've got this left-hand side menu over here, which is what you're going to use to edit everything on your site. And it comes with all these awesome widgets that you can scroll through, and you can just drag and drop them in. So what I'm going to do is show you how to use Elementor to start building your website, and then I'm going to show you a way to really speed up your workflow. So in order to start customizing your website, all you have to do is just click on the little plus icon to add a new section, and you can select the structure, which is basically how many columns you want in that one section. So for this case, our hero image at the top, I'm just going to put in a one column here, and then now you can see we've got it here. And what you can do is just go over to the little Rubik's Cube looking symbol right here, and here is where you can drag in all of the widgets. So in this case, let's say that I want some text. So I'm just going to grab the heading text. And you've also got text editor. So this one is just for big titles and such. So I'm going to drag in the heading text. And you can see a little blue line will appear whenever you can drop it in that space. So once you drop it, what you can do is you can type right here in this box to change the text, or you can just triple click and type right on the screen. So in this case, I'll say my name. I'm going to do it in all caps, just like that. And now before I show you how to start changing fonts and font colors and such, what we want to do is add a background to this section, because right now it's just text sitting on nothing. So in order to actually add a background to this section, you can just click on the little 6 dots to edit this section. And then you can just close out of this little meet right click thing. And whenever you click on those little 6 dots, it's going to open up the edit section up here. And you can basically change a bunch of settings in here. So for this section, we want to add a background. So I'm going to go over to Style, and then it automatically opens up background. So with background type, you can do classic, which is basically just an image or a color. You can do a gradient like that, and you can change the gradient colors. You could do a video, or you could do a slideshow. So let's say that I wanted to do an image. So I'm going to click on the little classic button. Or you could do a color. So just to show you, if you click on the color box, you can change that color in here. But in this case, I'm going to clear that down here. And I'm going to add an image. So I'm just going to click on Choose Image. And then I'm just going to go to Select Files. And then just navigate to where your images are. And I just put them on my desktop just to find them really easy. And then I'm going to grab my hero image. And this hero image, if I hover over it, you can see the dimensions are 1500 by 1000 pixels. And this is a really good size for the main hero image. If you go larger than that, if you go like 3000 pixels, well, your image is going to be too high quality and it's going to take forever for the website to load it. And a long load time is not good for a website. Google, if you want to get in Google rankings, for instance, Google hates that kind of stuff. So hero image 1500 by 1000 is a good size. So I'm going to click on that and then just click on open. And then I'm just going to click on insert media. And then it put my image in, but as you can see, this whole section is still really small. So what I'm going to do is actually give it some space. Now you've got two ways you can do this. If you go over to layout with this section still selected, you can just go over to height and then go to minimum height. And then you can drag this slider up and down to give it some space. Or if we go back to default, you can go over to advanced up here and then just go to padding and just give it some padding. So actually what you want to do is uncheck these values and give it some padding to the top and the bottom. So we'll say around a 200 at the top and we'll say a 200 at the bottom. And that's basically just adding space above and below all of the widgets in the middle. So let's give that a little more. Let's actually do around a 300 by 300 like that. That looks pretty good for now. And then now let's go back and edit our image because it's a little off center. So I'm going to go back to these little 6 dots for this whole section. And by the way, you can see that we've got a section, which is a little blue line that goes all the way around. And then you've got a gray dotted box here. That's your column. And then inside of the column, you've got another blue box, which is your text widget, which has this little pencil icon. So you've got sections, and then you've got columns inside of sections, and then you've got widgets inside of columns. So there's kind of a hierarchy here. Okay, anyway, so if we go back to the 6 dots for this section, and we go back to style, here we've got our image again. So position, I'm going to change that to center, center, like that. And then size, I'm going to change that to cover, just like that. So no matter how big or small the screen gets, the image will automatically auto resize to fit that screen. And then for attachment, this is the cool part, I'm going to change that to fixed. And that's going to give our site this really cool parallax effect where the image stays in one spot, but the rest of the website is moving. Or if you wanted, you could just go to scroll and the whole thing moves as one. But I really like the parallax effect, so I'm going to go back to fixed. And always make sure that you are saving your work by going down here to the little green update button and clicking on that. So the other thing that you can do to your background while we're here is add a background overlay. So first, just close this background section and then go to background overlay. And then from here, underneath background type, we're just going to do classic. And then for the color, we're going to select that and just go to black, like that. And that's going to add a black overlay over top of our image. And this is really just to make it easier to read text, which we're going to be changing this text to white, changing the font and everything else. But adding a black overlay makes it a little bit easier to read text. And you can change the opacity here by dragging up or down. And that's basically just how much black you want. So I'll do something around a 0.25. Cool. So now with that done, let's go ahead and edit our text. So what you can do is just click on the pencil icon for the text widget. And that's going to open it up here in the left-hand side menu. And first off, while we're here, you can change the alignment. So right now it's automatically on the left. You can change it to the center, which puts it right in the middle, or on the right. But I'm going to stick with the center. And then if we go over to style, this is where you can change the color and the font and everything else. So with text color, I'm going to click on that and change it to white, just like that. And then typography, we're just going to open that up. And here underneath family, you can change it. So you can change it to literally everything. These are all Google fonts. So if you want, you can just go up to a new tab and type in Google fonts, and you should be able to see a whole list of them just like this, but you can see them a little bit more clearly. But you can type in anything that you want, or you can click on anything. So if I just click on that, you can see it changes. But in this case, I'm just going to stick with the default, just like that. And then here you can change the size. So if you just drag that up, you can make it larger or smaller. And I'm going to do something around like that, maybe a 48. And then weight, you can change how thin or how bold it is. So a weight of 200 makes it really thin. And then, 900 is a lot thicker. But I'm just going to stick with the default. And then you've also got letter spacing, so you can space that out a lot or, really scrunch it in. I kind of like some spaced out letters, so I'm gonna maybe do like a 3, like that. So now just close typography. And then you can also add a text shadow. So if we click on that, it's gonna add a little bit of a shadow behind our text, which is a little hard to see right now. But if you click on the color, you can go to this bottom bar right here and you can drag it way up to make it really dark or way down to make it a little more transparent. I'm gonna go somewhere around a quarter, maybe a third, like that. And then you can change the amount of blur and the spacing horizontally and vertically. So horizontal will move the text shadow left to right, and then vertical will move it up to down. So I'm gonna just do maybe like a 2 or a 1 on both. Let's do a 1 on both. And then the blur, I'm gonna bring that down a little bit. Kind of like a 5, just like that. Cool, so now let's go ahead and add some subtext underneath. So yes, you could actually just go back to the Rubik's Cube looking symbol and grab the heading and drag it in. And you can see the blue line is either above or below. But what I'm gonna do is actually go to our same text, and I'm going to right click on the little pencil icon and click on duplicate. And that's gonna duplicate it right below. And we're gonna change this text. So you just wanna write some facts about yourself like that. And then what I'm gonna do is just go on over to style and then go to typography. And I'm gonna change that size to be a lot smaller. Maybe something more like a, 16, like that. And I'm also gonna go to style, and I'm gonna change that to italic, like that, to give it a little bit of a different look. So that is not looking half bad, just as is. But what we wanna do next is add a button. So let's go ahead and go up to the Rubik's Cube looking symbol, and then just go down to button, and just drag that in. And we're gonna add it below, just like that. And then for alignment over here on the left, we're gonna change that to center, like that. And then here you can change the text for the button. So right now it says click here. You could say something like see portfolio, like that. And you can also change the size of the button. So right now it's on small. You can do extra small or extra large or anything in between. I think small is a pretty good place to be. And you can also add an icon. So right here, if you go to icon library, we can add an icon to that button. So let's say you could type in literally anything. Let's say I wanted the Instagram logo. I could just type that in and find it right here. But that'd be a little funny to add to our button at the top. So I'm gonna exit out of that. And let's just say that we wanted a down arrow like this. So I'll just click on that one and then say insert. And now as you can see, we've got our little down arrow button on our button. But in this case, I'm gonna get rid of it because I don't really like having an icon on this button specifically. So I'm gonna hit the little trash symbol. And now we're gonna go over to style. And here you can change the text typography here. You can add some text shadow. And the most important one is background color and text color. So background color, we're just going to change that. Make sure that you're on normal. You've got normal and hover. And I'll show you that in just a second. So with normal, go to background color, and you can change this to anything that you want. Let's say I want to do like a blue color, something like that, like a bright blue. I recommend going with something that's going to stand out a lot, like a bright blue, bright green, or bright orange. Because with those colors, no matter which one you choose, they stand out a lot. And this is your call to action button. This is the most important button on your website. It's what somebody uses to find exactly what they need. So you want to make sure that this button stands out and it's super easy to read. Because if it blends in, let's say it's something like that blends in with my background, it's a little less obvious and your eye might skip over it if somebody just scrolls too fast. But bright colors like a bright orange, that stands out a bit more. My favorite is bright blue. Just like that. There we go. So now with that said, we can go to hover and just click on that and then go to background color and go to the same color that you chose and then just make it a bit darker. So just drag this little dot down, and now whenever you hover over it, it will turn a little bit darker, which kind of indicates that, hey, you can now click on this button. So now with that said, you can also do a hover animation. So right now it's set to none. You could go to grow, which is my favorite. Whenever you hover over it, it just kind of grows a little bit. And there's all sorts of crazy ones here. Bounce in, kind of bounces like that. There's tons of them, but my favorite is grow. So I'm going to stick to grow. And then you can also add a border if you want to. So if you go to border type and go to solid, you could add some. So with width, you could just give that a plus. And you can see we've now got a border on it, which looks a little goofy like that. But what I'm going to do is get rid of that and go to none. And then I'm going to go to border radius, and I'm going to bring that up all the way to around like a 50. And that's going to make our buttons circular, which I think looks really good. And you can also add a shadow to this button. So if you click on box shadow, you can add a shadow the same way that we did the text. And I'm just going to leave it with the default settings for now, just to keep things speedy. And then the very important thing for any widget, it's not just buttons, is adding padding around them. So as you can see, both lines of text and the button are all kind of squished in this one area. And I want this button to kind of stand out on its own. So what I'm going to do is just go over to the Advanced tab, like that. And then I'm going to add some padding around this button. And that's going to really help it space out a lot. Let's say somewhere, let's do like a 35. Like that. And if you close this little tab right here, that'll close the side menu, and you can see what that looks like. So adding some space around that button really helped it stand out. And what I really recommend doing is add space around objects that fit together. So two lines of text, a heading and a subheading, really fit together, so they should be closer together. And then the button is a whole separate object, so you should add some more space around that. Okay, so just go ahead and click on Update again. And then one more really cool thing I want to show you is a shape divider. So with this whole section selected, just go up here and select your 6 dots for this section. Close Background Overlay, which is underneath the Style tab, and go to Shape Divider. And then we're just going to choose Bottom, like that. And we're just going to scroll down so we can see what we're doing. And then with Type, just go ahead and choose any one of these. So Mountains, kind of comes up with these cool looking mountains. You've got clouds, which are inverted, drops. You've got just all sorts of cool ones, pyramids. I mean, you can go for days in here and choose some really cool ones. And you can also change the width and the height on these. So for height, if I drag that up, you can see, it gets a lot higher. And it just adds a really cool kind of fade into the next section, which if you want to create a new section, just click on the Add New Section button. But I really love shape dividers. And then you can also change the width as well on all of these. So mess around in there and see what you like. And you can also change the color. So if you just go to color, you can drag this around anywhere that you want, which is really cool. So it's a really good branding opportunity. Let's say you want to go with, like an orange as your color. You could do something like that. But in this case, I'm going to clear it. And I'm going to get rid of the shape divider here because I'm going to show you the way to really speed up your workflow and get to the website that I showed you in the beginning. So in order to do that, I've actually created an entire template for you that you can just download and edit. So if you go in the description, you should see a link for the website template. Just go ahead and click on that link. So once you've downloaded that website template, just go ahead and click on Update one more time to save our work. And then we're just going to go up to the X and get rid of all of our hard work. I know it hurts to do that, but don't worry, that template has everything included, which will make it a lot faster to edit the rest of your website. So in order to upload that template, all you have to do is just click on this little Add Template button, which is a gray folder. Here are also lots of other free, some are free, some are pro. So if you've got a pro symbol on it, that means you have to buy it. But you've got other ones here that don't have a pro symbol, and these are all free templates that you can use with Elementor as well. So if you scroll through, you can find a few more free ones, and they're really cool. So if I just click on one of these, you can preview it. And you can see this is a restaurant one, but it's really cool. It'll import all of this data, and then you can just drag and drop and replace things. So anyway, I'm going to go back to the library, and we're going to go to this little Import Template button up here. And then I'm going to go to Select File. And then I'm going to grab the personal website template, Create a Pro website, which again is in the description if you want to download it. And then just click on Open. Cool, so now here is our template, and all you have to do is just click on the little green Insert button. Awesome, so here is our website, and if we scroll through, obviously all of our background images are missing, and everything's just mainly a template, and you can see our Instagram isn't hooked up yet, so we're gonna have to do that too. All the images are gone, but don't worry, we're gonna replace them all. As long as the foundation for the website is built, everything else is gonna be super easy. So just scroll back up to the top, and just to be sure, we're actually gonna click on Update. Okay, so let's go ahead and start replacing stuff. So let's go up and we'll first work on the background. So as you can see here, I've got a video background in here, which I really love the look of. So let me show you how to do that. So just go ahead and click on the little 6 dots to go to this section. Go over to Style, which I showed you earlier, how to get to your background. And before we were on Classic, which is an image background or a color. Now we're on Video, which you can grab a YouTube link to put in there. And in this case, I just found this one on YouTube of this time lapse of a sunset, and I put that in because I thought it looked really cool. But you can actually create your own videos and upload them to YouTube and put a custom one back here if you want to. But really, it's just a simple YouTube URL that you paste in here. And then you've got a few other settings here. And the most important one is the fallback image. So this is whenever the video isn't loading properly on somebody's device, maybe it's their internet or something, it will fall back to this image. So I'm going to click on Choose Image, and then I'm just going to grab this same one of the hero image that I uploaded earlier, and click on Insert Media. And then that way, if I were to reload the site and it didn't work, it would at least use this image, so it wouldn't just be blank in the background. And I've also got a background overlay on this, which I showed you earlier. If you just click on Background Overlay, you can change the color and the opacity here. And then I also showed you how to change text and stuff. So what we're going to do is just change that real quick. I'm going to triple click, and I'm going to type in my name. And then replace this with cool stuff that you do. I will do that. So again, I'm going to go with web design, and I'll do videographer. And then lastly, I'll do photographer. There we go. So now this whole section is looking good. And I chose not to put a button up here because I actually put it right here in the About Me section. So let's go ahead and scroll down and edit that section. Oh, and by the way, these slanted sections here, as you can see, we've got a slant here and a slant here. These are actually just shape dividers for each section. So in order to actually edit this one, this is just a tilt on this section. So if I open up this section and then I go to shape divider and I go to bottom, which it's at the bottom of this section right here, you can see we've got a tilt with a height of 150. So I can bring that up or down to change it if I want to. But in this case, I like 150. And then I also added one to the top of this section. And basically this whole section, the About Me section, is just white in between. So the little tilt is on either side. That's just if you want to edit those. I kind of like the way they look, so you could just leave them just the way they are if you like it as well. All right, so let's go ahead and edit the About Me section. So first, let's go ahead and change the image. So I'm just going to click on this little image widget here, and then I'm going to go to Choose Image over here on the left, and I'm going to go to Upload Files, and then Select Files. And then I'm going to grab my other two images. I've got an About Me and a background. And you can actually drag in multiple images at once if you want to upload a bunch, and then just choose them from your media library. So first, just click on Open, and that's going to upload these to your media library. Just like that. So I'm going to click on this image of me, and this is 900 by 600 pixels. And this is a very good size for your About Me. It's not quite as big as your hero image, but it's still high quality enough that it looks great, but it's low quality enough that it'll load quickly. So make sure that you do 900 by 600. And if you want to edit photos, let's say you don't have a photo editor like Photoshop or anything like that. Well, you could just go up to a new tab and type in photor.com, just like that, Photor with an F. And then you can just click on edit a photo. And then here is your online editor. So you could just go to open up a photo. And I'm going to choose one from my computer. And this is just going to be a real quick tutorial. So I'm just going to click on this About Me photo as well. And click on Open. And I'm going to close out of that. And so now here's our image. And if you wanted to crop it, you could just go over to Crop. And then you could type in your values here. So I've automatically got 900 by 600. Let's say you wanted, let's close out of that. Let's say you wanted to do 800. Now that adds a box which you can drag around. And then you could just click on Apply. But in this case, I'm just going to leave it as 900. Or what you can do is also just resize. Oh, it's going to say, hey, do you want to discard your changes? I'm going to say yes. So if you wanted to, you could just resize this image at its current aspect ratio. So if I just go down to resize and open that up, there again, we've got 900 by 600, and you can change that. So if you wanted to keep this whole size where it's a little bit longer than it is tall, then you could just change your values here and then just click on apply. And then you could just click on the save button. And whenever you click on save, you can save it out as a JPEG or a PNG. And I recommend a JPEG for your website unless you want a transparent background. Let's say you have an icon that you got. A PNG will keep that transparent background. But in this case, a JPEG will work perfectly fine. And then you just click download, and it'll ask you to create a free account. It takes 2 seconds, and you can use Facebook or anything that you want. They don't send you any spam or anything. So that is how to edit a photo online. And if you don't have pictures of your own that you can use, you can actually get free images. So I'm just going to go up to a new tab, and I'm going to type in pixabay.com. And this is a site that you can use to get free images. They're completely royalty free, so you can use them however you want, and you don't have to pay anything for them. So what you can do is just search for anything you want. So I'll just say travel in the search bar, and then all these travel images come up, and you can search for literally everything on here, and they're all free. So let's say that you wanted to use one of these, I don't know, let's say this one of the balloons. You just click on it, and then there's a little free download button right here. And then you can choose the size right here. And then for anything really large, you will have to make a free account. So anyway, this is how to get free images. Okay, so going back to our WordPress. So I'm going to insert this photo of myself into the About Me section like that. And if I close this little menu tab right here, we can see what it looks like full size, and that looks pretty good. So I'm going to open that up. And you can change the text over here the same way I showed you before. So this is a heading text, and you can just triple tap and you can edit right on the screen. And then this is just a text editor box right here. So as you can see over here, we've got this little, simple text editor. It works the exact same way. You can still go to style and change the colors and the fonts and everything else. And then as well, the button. So I showed you how to create a button earlier. And here, the only thing I did not mention earlier was the link. So the link to this button says hashtag videos. So normally you would put a URL here if you wanted to go to a different page on your website, or maybe a completely different website. Let's maybe say I wanted to put my YouTube in here. I would just put the URL to my YouTube channel and put it in the link section. But this says hashtag videos. And what this is a jump button. So when you do a hashtag and then a word behind it, there is a menu anchor on here. So in my videos section, this thing right here with the little anchor symbol, it's probably really hard for you to see because it's grayed out. If I click on this, this is a menu anchor, and it says videos. So no hashtag, just videos. So whenever you go to your button and you put hashtag videos in there, well, whenever I click on it, it jumps down to where that anchor is, which this is my videos section. So that's called the jump button. And wherever the anchor is where the top of the screen is going to meet. So I don't know if you can see, but there's a blue line or blue box around this. That is where it's going to meet up with the top of the screen. And these are everywhere. So I have one here, and that's for the photos section. So it will land right here. And then same with web design. There's one right here. So these are menu anchors. So I'm going to go back to my button, and you can see hashtag videos. And when I click it, jumps down. So yeah, you can change that to a regular URL if you wanted to, but I think jump buttons on a one-page design looks really cool. And then another cool thing is animations. So if I actually go over to this whole box right here, if I go to edit column and just click on this little gray box right here, and then I go to advanced, and then I go to motion effects, we've got a animation here. So I could do a fade in, and that will make the whole thing fade in. You could do fade in up, and it will kind of drift up. And this is whenever you come across it. So whenever you load up the site and you scroll down, whenever your computer senses that you've hit a certain point, it will fade in. Now it's not going to do it now because I'm in the editor mode, but if you just preview the site, you could go down to preview changes with a little eyeball down here, and then you could preview it and see what that animation is going to look like. So yeah, there's a ton of cool ones in here. Zoom in, all sorts of ones, but honestly, I like the fade ins the most. So I'm going to stick with just a regular fade in, I think. And this is on the column. Now you can also do it on the widget itself. So if I click on the widget, which is this little image widget, and I go to advanced, and then go to motion effects, you can also change it here. So you can literally do it for everything. You can do it for a whole section if you wanted to, but these animations are just fantastic. Okay, so moving on to our next section. First, we've got the title, and the title, what do you want to see? You can see we've got videos, photos, they all match the same black box style. So this is actually just a button that does nothing, and I wanted that black box around it. That's why I used a button to build this. So if you just click on that, if you click on it, you can edit the text over here. So what do you want to see? I've got written in the button text. The link is going to nothing, it's just hashtag nothing. And it's set to extra large. And of course, if you want to move these around, as you can see, there's no blue box that comes up around it. That's because the margin is set really high. So when I hover over it, the actual widget is down here. It's this little blue line that goes all the way across. So if I go over to advanced, I'll show you what I mean. There's a negative 154 on the margin. So let's say I bring that up, which is basically going backwards in the negatives. It will bring it back to where it should be, which is inside that blue box. But the negative 154 is what allows it to sit in between the gray and the white slant, which I think looks really good. It adds a lot of depth to the site. All right, so I'm just going to set that back to 154 and then scroll down, and these are icons that you can change. So if you just click on the little edit icon box right here, you can go to the icon library and change those here if you'd like. And then you can edit the title and the description down here as well. And then these are also clickable. So when you hover over them, I'll show you how to change that the colors there as well as the color itself. I just have them set to black because I think they look really good like that. But these are actually clickable. So if you go over to link down here, this goes to hashtag web design. And then I've got a web design anchor down here. And you can change this web design section to whatever you want. But as long as you change the link here as well as the menu anchor ID as well. So if you wanted to change this from web design to something else, make sure that you do those things so that this button works. Because when I click on it, it brings me all the way down to web design. Okay, so let's edit the colors. So if we just go up to style, you can see we've got a normal color and then a hover color. So underneath normal, we've got primary color. Again, I just have it set to black, but you can set it to anything that you want. I think black looks the best though for this design specifically. Just make sure that that's pure black. You can edit the spacing between the icon and the words. And by the way, you can Control Z and that will undo everything. And then you've also got the size. So if you bring that up, you can make a huge icon or a real small one. But again, I'm going to Control Z because I like just the normal one. And then rotate. You can, kind of give it a slant if you wanted to go with, more of that look. But again, I'm going to Control Z. And then you've got hover. So if you go over to hover, I have them hovering as blue, but you can change that as well as the animation. So I have it set to grow currently. And then if you go down to content, you can change the font and the colors and everything of all of the text as well, the exact same way that I showed you how to change the text up here. And then if you wanted, you could set one the way that you like it. And then let's say that you got rid of these. So let's just delete these. And if you set one just the way you like it, then you could just duplicate it and then drag it over to the next section and just change the icon and the text, and then everything will look fluent. But again, I'm just going to Control Z and go back to the way things were. And these two buttons over here are also jump buttons. So this one's hashtag videos, which goes to videos, and then hashtag photos goes to the gallery. Okay, so let's move to the next section. And here's your menu anchor, by the way, for videos. So again, make sure that you click on that and change it if you're going to change this section from videos to something else. Just make sure that you tag it right there. Okay, so moving down to videos, first let's add a background to this section, because right now there's just a placeholder background back there. So I'm just going to click on the 6 dots for this section, and then I'm going to go to Style, and then I'm going to choose an image. So I'm underneath Classic, and then I'm going to go to Image and choose Image. And then I'm just going to grab this one of me on a bike and click on Insert Media. There we go. And I have it set to center center, and then the attachment is fixed so that it has that parallax effect. And then the size is set to cover. Cool. So now let's edit these videos. So I've got 2 videos here, and they're both inside of these intersections. So if I click on this, it says Edit Intersection. That basically, if we go back to the Rubik's Cube looking symbol, that's actually its own widget right here. It's intersection, and you can put that inside of any other column, and it will add more columns inside of that. So now we've got a big column with a couple columns in between. But I'm going to cancel that because we don't need it. So to edit the video, just click on the little edit pencil icon. And then you can change the link right here. So we've got a YouTube link. You can just go to YouTube and grab whatever you want. So I'm going to go to my channel. So I'm going to open up a new tab and go to youtube.com/createapro-website. And then I'm just going to go to videos, and I'll just grab one. So I'll say maybe how to make a photography website. And I will grab that URL up here, copy it, go back over to the link section. I'm going to delete that one and then paste in the new one. Cool. And then it automatically uploads my thumbnail with it. And you can edit the settings over here, like the start time and the end time. You can make it autoplay or mute or loop. Honestly, I recommend the standard settings because I don't really like when I get on a website and a video just autoplays with sound, and sometimes I just don't really like that. But if you want to do that, you totally can. Now I'm going to edit this other one as well. So I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to delete the link. And then I'm going to go over to YouTube and grab another video. And I'll grab this one. Copy that link. Paste it in. And there we go. Cool. So now we've changed our videos. And if you want to make these videos smaller or larger, let's say it's, this one. Let's click on this one. Click on the video widget, and we'll go to Advanced. And then you can just add some padding around it. And that is going to make the video smaller or larger. But I'm going to leave it just the way it is. So I'm going to delete those values out of the padding, because I think these are pretty good sizes right here. Especially when we close this menu, that's a pretty good size video. So scrolling down, you've got the button right here. This is just another call to action button to subscribe. So you can change the text here pretty easily, like I showed you before. And then this is just a regular button. So if you click on it, you can change the link. So let's scroll down, and you've got a menu anchor here. So this one's set to photos. So if you're going to change this section below to something else, make sure that you change that menu anchor. Okay, so for photos, we're going to add a gallery. So right now you can see we've already got a gallery widget here, but it's kind of grayed out because there's nothing in it. So let's go ahead and click on that. And then you can see no images selected. So let's go ahead and add some. So to do that, just click on the little plus button right here. And then just go over to Upload Files. And then select Files. And then I'm just going to grab the gallery 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I'm just holding Control and selecting them all. You can also just hold Shift and select the first and the last. and then I'm going to click on open. And now with all 4 of these checked, I'm going to say create a new gallery. And then you can reorder these if you want. So you can just click and drag and reorder these however you want. But I'm just going to put that back to where it was. And then I'm just going to say insert gallery. Cool. And then there is our gallery, which is looking pretty good. And you can change the size. So if you want, you could do medium if you want. You could do a little bit smaller images like that, but to be honest, I kind of like the large. And then you can also change the columns. So columns 2, you could do, let's say 4 if you want. And there you go, it'll put all 4 in a row, or you could just do 1. I mean, whatever you think is going to look better for your site. So I kind of like 2, just like that. Cool. And these are also clickable. So whenever you click on them, it'll open up in a light box and anyone can just sift through them. Okay, scrolling down even more. So now you can change these buttons here. So you've got an Instagram button that will take you, or that will take the viewer to your Instagram. And then you're going to want to replace this with your Instagram. Or if you want to change this text to something else, you totally can. And then we've got a menu anchor right here, which is for web design. So as you can see, I've got web design in there, and then the web design section below. So moving on to this section, you can change this section to whatever you want. It doesn't have to be web design. It could be just my skills if you want. And then here you could list out all of the things that you're good at. And these are all icons. So if you click on this, it's just a simple icon box, and you can change the icon here, and then the title and the description, just like the ones at the top that I showed you right up here. Pretty much works the same way. So if I wanted to, I could change the color of this as well by going to style, and then I could just go to normal or hover and just select primary color. But I think white looks really good. And right now I do not have these hoverable, or I also don't have them clickable. So if you go over to content, you can put in a link down here and you can make them clickable to go to other parts of your website or a completely different website. But here I just wanted to list out these icons with some skills. I didn't really want to make them clickable. And you can also change their position. So right now they're left aligned. You could do on top of each other like that, or right aligned if you want. Right aligned also looks pretty good, but I'm going to leave them as left aligned. And let's also go ahead and change the background for this section as well. So I'm going to click on the little 6 dots for this whole section, and then go over to style. And then I'm going to choose an image. And I'm just going to grab this same one as I used for the backup of the hero image, and then just say insert media. There we go. And as I scroll, it's looking pretty good. And there is a background overlay of black. So if you close the background tab and go to background overlay, you can see we've got black, and it's all the way up at an 8. So if you wanted, you could make it, a little more like that, but that makes the text a bit harder to read the further back you go. So I think an 8 looks pretty good. Or you could just change the text color if you want to. Okay, let's go ahead and save our work since we haven't done that in a while. And then these over here are just simple image widgets. So if you just click on that, you can just add an image. So right here, I would suggest putting in a portfolio image. It's something that shows off some of your work. So in this case, web design, I'm going to put a screenshot of some websites that I've made. So I'm going to go over to choose image, and then I'm going to go to upload files, and then select files. And then I'm just going to grab skills 1 through 3, and then say open. And these images are 900 by 426 pixels. They're all the same size, which makes them look a lot better on the website if they're all the same size. Okay, so with this one selected, I'm going to say insert media. Cool. So now I'll do this one. So I'm going to say choose image, and then grab this one, and then say insert media. And then last one down here, select it, choose image, and then I'll grab this one and then say insert media. And then you've got a button down here that says get a quote. You could change it to anything that you want, like see more of my work, and maybe it goes to a whole separate page on your website with even more examples of your work. But if you click on this button, I have it set to hashtag contact. So get a quote would send you down to the contact form, and then they could fill out the contact form and ask you to work with them or whatever it might be. And I'm going to show you how to set up that contact form in just a few minutes. And while we're here, I just noticed that this button is still a square, and the rest of our buttons up here are circles. So our subscribe button's a circle button, as well as see portfolio is a circle button. So I'm going to go ahead and change that one to be a circle, and this is done pretty easily. So I'm going to select it and then go over to style, and then for border radius I'm just going to add about 50 to those values like that, and now it's a circle button. Okay, so scrolling down, we've got the follow me section, and this is for your Instagram. So let's go ahead and click on update. So we're going to just click on this widget right here at the top right corner, and you can see it's a shortcode widget, and the shortcode says Instagram feed inside of these brackets. You're going to want to leave that just the way it is, and we're going to go back over to our Smashballoon social photo feed plugin and hook up our Instagram account, and then it will automatically show up right here. So make sure that you update, and then just go up to this little hamburger looking symbol right here, and then go over to exit to dashboard. Cool. So from here, you've got the left-hand menu. Just scroll down to Instagram feed and click on that. And then just scroll down again, and you can connect your account just by clicking on this big blue button. And if you're already logged in, like I am, you can just say personal account and say connect, and it will automatically connect for you without even needing to sign in again. And that's because I'm automatically signed in. So there we go. It just popped up in green right there. And if you're not automatically signed in, then it will ask you to sign in. And if for some reason it's still not working, you can just click on the button not working, and it will just ask you to get a code and put that in. So I'll just do that real quick just to show you, just in case yours isn't working. So it's going to say click here to get your Instagram access token. So I'm going to click on that. It's my personal account. I'll say connect. It normally would ask me to sign in, but again, I'm already signed in. So it's going to recognize my account, which is at Dale McManus, and it's going to give me this big token. So I'm going to copy that, just like that, and then you can exit out of this. And then you can just go over to manually connect an account, and then just paste that in right there. And then just say connect this account. And again, mine's just going to flash green because it's already set up. Cool. So from here, what we're going to do is go on over to customize, and then just scroll down. And for layout, it's going to say number of photos right here. We're going to change that to 8 because 20 is just a little bit too much. That's way too many photos to show on your homepage. You can also change the number of columns, but I think 4 is pretty good. So we're also going to go down and we're going to disable the mobile layout, and I'll show you what that looks like a little later towards the end of the tutorial. And then we are also going to scroll down to the header section, and we're going to say show bio text. We're going to uncheck that because we don't really want our bio text on there unless you really do. I personally don't like the way it looks, but if you want to leave your bio text, you can. But in this case, I uncheck it, and I'm going to edit the header text color as well. I'm going to make that kind of like a middle gray, not too dark, not too light, maybe something like that. Cool. So with all of that done, now just click on Save Changes. And then we're just going to go back up to our site name and then say Visit Site. And then just go on over to Edit with Elementor right here. And then just scroll all the way down. All the way right there is our Instagram, which is looking really nice. So you can also click on the Load More button, and that will load a few more images, just like that. It's pretty cool. And this whole section in white behind it will auto expand whenever you click that Load More button. So this whole site is really responsive. Cool. And if it's not showing up for whatever reason, just double check that you've got this little short code here, which is Instagram-feed inside of these brackets. And then just click on Apply. And whenever you click on Apply, sometimes it'll look like this. So that basically just means you have to refresh the page. So just make sure that you update and then refresh. And then if you scroll down again, your Instagram feed should be there, which it is. Awesome. Okay, next section. So we've got a menu anchor, which is for our contact section. So as you can see, we've got contact written right here in the menu anchor. But this you probably aren't going to want to change because you're definitely going to want a contact section on your website. So if you want to change the title here, you just click on it. You can edit that right over here. And again, this is just a button that does nothing. It's purely like this just for the black background. Okay, so now we can move on to step number 6, which is to create a new contact form. So having a contact form on your website is a must. So let's go ahead and create a contact form. So as you can see, if I were to click on the little widget here, it's going to bring us to this EA WP Forms widget. And this is actually Essential Add-ons, WP Forms. And Essential Add-ons is that plugin that we got in the very beginning. So if I go to select a form, as you can see, there's nothing here. It's not going to open up anything. And that's because we haven't created that contact form yet. So let's go do that now. Make sure that you update, and then just go over to the hamburger looking symbol, and then go over to exit to dashboard. And then you can just go over to WP Forms over here on the left-hand side, and then go over to Add New. And WP Forms automatically comes with WordPress whenever you install it. Okay, so from here, we're going to start with a simple contact form. You can start from a blank one and add whatever you want, but I say work smarter, not harder. So let's go ahead and click on Create a Simple Contact Form. Cool, and here's our form. So if you want to, you can add anything you want to this. So right now we've got a name, email, and a comment or message. Let's say that you wanted to add a phone number section. Well, over here you've got standard fields. Anything in blue is what you can add. Any of these are grayed out. If you want to pay for WP Forms, you can get more stuff here. But honestly, all this stuff right here is plenty. So if you want to add a numbers section, just click on numbers. And that will add that below, and you can click and drag to reorder these. So I'm going to drag that underneath email like that. And instead of numbers, let's say that I want that to say phone number. All you have to do is click on it, and then it will come up with the label over here on the left. And I'm just going to call that phone number, just like that. And then you can either make this field required or not. I don't really think the phone number needs to be required, so I'm going to leave it unchecked. But if you click on that check, it will add this little red asterisk to all of these sections that you click that on. So the next thing that we're going to do is change comment or message. Let's just change that to message. So I'm going to click on that one, change the label to message, just like that. And the next thing that we're going to do is make sure that all of these sections are the same size. So as you can see, the message box goes all the way from one end of the form to the other. But the name, email, and phone number kind of stop around 2/3 of the way right here. And the way to make it look the best on your site is to have these all the same length. So to do that, just click on the first one. So let's just click on name, and then just go over to advanced options and scroll down, and the field size, let's go ahead and change that from medium over to large. And now that's going to add that form all the way to the end of the contact form. So now let's go over to email and do the same thing. So let's go over to advanced options, scroll down, go to field size and change that to large. And then last one, phone number, advanced options, field size, change that from medium to large. Now they are all the same size, which is going to look a lot better on our site. Okay, so next let's go ahead and change the name of our contact form. So I'm just going to click on the name right here, and that's going to bring me to the general settings. And for form name, I'm just going to change this to Dale's contact form, and you would want to put your name, but really nobody's going to see that anyway. It's just for your own navigational purposes. So with that done, we can change the submit button text down here. So you could change this to send if you want to, or something like that. And then as well as the processing just says sending. And then let's just go on over to notifications and click on that. And then you can see right here we've got send to email address, and this is basically the email that you want all of these contact form submissions to go to. So in this case, you'd want to put your email in here, and right now there's a little short code that says admin email, and this is basically using the exact same email that you used to sign up for WordPress with, and it's going to send it to that email. So if that's the email you want it to go to, you can just leave it. But if you want to change it, you can just delete it, and then you can type in your own email address here. And you can add multiple by just hitting the comma and then adding another one. But in this case, I'm just going to leave it as one. And then I'm going to scroll down, and we've also got the email subject line. So right now I'm going to change this to new entry from Dale's contact form. And then you can just leave the rest the same. And then I'm going to go over to confirmations. And here is the message that comes up whenever they actually submit their message. And right now the confirmation type is just set to message, but you can also do a whole page on your website if you want, like a thank you page, or you can go to a completely different URL. But in this case, I think a message is just fine. And then we've got thank you for contacting us. We'll be in touch with you shortly. So you can change that here as well. So with all of that done, I'm just going to click on save. And then we're just going to click on the X. Cool. So now you can see Dale's contact form right here, and yours should have your name as well. And then we can just go up to our site and say visit site. And then I'm going to go back to edit with Elementor. And then scroll all the way down to our contact form at the bottom. And now I'm going to click on the widget here. So the EAWP Forms widget, just click on that. And then go over to select form. And I'm going to say Dale's contact form, which is now in the list. And boom, there it is. Awesome. And you can toggle on the titles and descriptions and labels and everything. So now let's change the submit button color, because right now the gray is blending into the background. So let's just go over to style. And then I'm going to close form container. And I'm going to go all the way down to submit button. And then just scroll down a little bit. And underneath normal, you're going to want to go to background color. And I'll change this to kind of a blue color as well, maybe like that. And then for text color, I'm going to change that to white. Just like that. And then for hover color, I'm going to change that to a little bit of a darker blue. So for background color, I'm going to go to blue and then go to kind of a darker blue, just like that. That looks pretty good. And then the other cool thing here is you can change the width of the button. So if you want, you can drag this up and make it a full width button that kind of, is the whole width of this box here. But I'm just going to keep it simple, maybe stick with, something around 100, like that. I think that's a pretty good size. Cool, so there's your working contact form. And I also recommend sending a test email to a different email than what you put this to be submitted to. So that whole admin email, you're going to want to use a different one. Maybe create a whole new one with Gmail just to test it, or you can use a friend's email, whatever it might be, to test this. And basically, if it goes to spam, you can just mark it as not spam, and then everything else from anyone that contacts you through their website or through your website should go to your inbox after that. Okay, so moving on. We've got some of our info over here. So if we just click on this little icon, this is an icon list, and you can change it from up and down on top of each other to kind of like a side-by-side look if you want to. I think up and down stacked on top of each other looks pretty good. And so what you can do is just click on this box, and this is your phone number. You can change it to whatever you want though. I just have it set as a phone, but you can change it to anything that you want. And this is not a real phone number, so please don't call that, as well as this email is not a real email. But these are pretty easy to edit. You just click on it, edit the text and the icon. And then you can add new ones by clicking on add item. And then you can edit the colors just by going to style. And then if you go to icon, you can edit the color right here. But I'm going to leave them as blue. I kind of like that blue accent color to my website. And then lastly, you've got this map over here. So if you just click on the map, you can edit the location right here. So I have it set to New York. Let's say that you want to do, I don't know, Los Angeles. Oops. Los Angeles. You can just type it in, and it will automatically find Los Angeles, which is pretty cool. But I'm going to go back to New York, although I don't even live in New York, so don't know why I chose that. You can also edit the zoom and the height as well. Okay, so now we can move on to step number 7, which is to customize your header and footer. Okay, so in order to do that, what we're going to do is just make sure that you update and then go over to the little hamburger looking symbol up here and then go to exit to dashboard. And then we're just going to go back up to our site name and go back to visit site. Cool. And then from here, we're just going to click on customize. Okay, so from here, we've got our header up here, which just has our name and a couple of page links, which doesn't look very good. So let's go ahead and get that changed. So first off, if you just click on the little pencil icon next to your name, that will take you to the section to edit the icon, or sorry, the logo and your site icon and all the rest. So what we're gonna do first is just go down and we're gonna uncheck display site title right there. And that's gonna get rid of our name. So now it's blank. And now we can add a logo. So if you don't have a logo already, let me show you how to get one. So just going up to a new tab and then just type in logo maker without the e.com, just like that. And this is a free way to make a logo online without needing any software. So just go ahead and exit out of this tutorial. And it's going to give you a few more little, notification boxes here. I'm just going to click next on all of them because I'm going to show you how to work this. So first off, if you want an icon for your logo, you can just go up here to search over 1 million graphics and you could type in anything that you want. So let's say that I wanted maybe a camera because I wanted to do something with film or photography. So I'll just type in camera and then hit enter. And we've just got tons of camera icons here. And you could just scroll and scroll for days and never reach the end of this. I've never actually seen the bottom. They have so many icons. And you can just select anything that you want. So let's say that I like maybe this one right here. You can just select that. And you can drag it around anywhere you want by clicking and dragging. Or you can resize by clicking on a corner and just dragging it up like that. And if you don't really know what you want yet, you just kind of want to browse some logos, you can just go over to this little Rubik's Cube looking symbol that says browse all logos. Click on that and you can browse by abstract. And there's all sorts of crazy ones in here. You've got shapes, nature. I mean, there's all sorts of categories here. So maybe you're not quite sure, you just want to poke around, then peruse through all these categories up here. But in this case, I'm going to stick with the camera. So I'm going to go back to Canvas. And then you can also change the color of this if you click on it and then go over to this little color wheel. On the outside, you can change the color, and then the inside is the saturation. But in this case, I'm going to leave it as black, just so we can see what we're doing right now. And then now I'm going to add some text. So I'm actually going to write my name in the text. So over here, you'll see the T for text. Just click on that. And I'm just going to type in my name. I'm going to type it in all caps too. And then you can also change the color here as well. So I'll just change that to a black. And then up here, you've got your font category and then the font family. So font category, you've got decorative, fun and funky, scary, all sorts of different ones here. So I'll show you. If I go to fun and funky, you can choose any of these. They're all different. Lots of cool ones in here too. And then what I'm going to do is just go to simple and modern. I kind of like that. It's a good category with some really simple fonts. I don't like to go too crazy. So I'm going to open this up for font family and choose a new one. So I kind of like that one. So with that said, I'm going to bring this up a little bit to make it bigger. Maybe like that. And then I'm just going to drag it right next to my logo. And I'm going to make my logo just a bit smaller. Maybe more like that. Let's drag it over just a bit. I think that looks pretty good. Or you could do on top if you want. You could do something like this. It's a little big, but you get the idea. So play around with this as much as you want. Cool. So once you have your logo made, what we're going to do is just go on up to the little save logo icon up here. And then it's going to say, hey, do you want to buy the high resolution file for 19 bucks? We're going to say, no thanks. I'm going to download the low resolution file, which is plenty high enough for our website. So you don't need to worry. It's not, a very low quality file. It's actually pretty nice. So I'm going to say, no thanks, download that one. And it's going to say, hey, just credit us. So somewhere on your website, you can say logo made by logomaker.com. You can put it real small somewhere. So I'm going to say no thanks, download the low resolution file. And there we go, it just hit our downloads right there. So let's go back up to our website. And I'm actually going to cancel out a couple of these menus here just so we can clean things up. And now I'm going to go to logo and say select logo. And then I'm going to go to upload files. And then select files. And then I'm just going to choose the logo right here. And then say open. Cool, there's our logo. And then I'm going to say select. And I'm just going to close out of my downloads here. Again, more real estate to work with. And then for here, I'm going to say skip cropping, or if you want, maybe we can cut off some of the space at the bottom. Maybe drag this up a bit, just like that. There we go. So I'll just say crop image. Cool. And there's our logo, which is pretty big. So if you want to make it smaller, you've got logo width right over here. Just go ahead and drag that down a little bit. And I say the smaller the better. So maybe something around, I don't know, 195. That looks pretty good. Cool. So now we can move on to the site icon. And the site icon is this symbol up here. So HostGator has this little gator. Logo Maker has these little shapes up here. It's basically just this little image next to your browser, next to your title. So we're going to put in a custom one there. So to do that, I'm just going to go over to Logo Maker again and click on the X. And then I am just going to delete my name. And then I'm going to grab my logo, drag it towards the middle, and I'm just going to resize this to make it nice and big like that. And then the important part here is if you don't have a logo like this where it's equally as tall as it is wide, basically like a square or a perfect circle, if you have something that's a little more organic looking than that, then go down here to the crop symbol and click on that. And you're just going to want to make sure that you crop it to be pretty equal. So 460 by 470 pixels, that's close enough. You can try to get exact like that if you want, 470 by 470. And just drag it towards the middle so that there's a tiny bit of space on both the top and the bottom as well as the left and the right. Just like that. And then just go ahead and click on enter. There we go. And I don't know why it just added another one. So we're going to delete that. Stick with the one that we got here. And now that that's cropped, now we can go over to save logo. And then again, we're going to say no thanks, download the low resolution file. Cool, and that just hit our downloads as well. So let's just go back up to our site and we can close out of Logo Maker now. And I'm going to go to site icon and say select site icon. And I'm just going to go over to upload files, select files, and then grab the site icon and say open. And yours is most likely in your downloads. I had just previously moved the exact same one to my desktop. Okay, so with the site icon selected, I'm going to say select, and then I'm just going to skip cropping, and you can see a little preview of it right here, which it looks pretty good. Got my little camera, and then I'm going to say skip cropping, and now as you can see right up at the top, there it is, which now our website is looking nice and branded. It's looking pretty good. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to click on publish. And then now we are also going to create a menu up here. So right now we've just got home page and sample page, which really doesn't do anything for us navigation wise. So let's go ahead and change that. So to do that, I'm just going to hit the back button and then the back button again. And then I'm just going to go down to menus right here. Just click on that. And then I'm going to say create a new menu because we don't have any yet. So create a new menu. And I'm going to give this menu a name. So I'm just going to say primary menu because that is the location for that menu. And then underneath menu locations, we're going to say primary menu, which is just this space right here. So you've got primary and then you've got a footer down at the bottom. So for primary menu, I'm going to say next. And then from here, we can add new items. So I'm just going to click on add items. And automatically it's going to open up the pages category. So as you can see, if I click this, pages is what was open, and we've only got home, home page, and sample page, which again doesn't really do anything for us. We haven't created any new pages yet. So here we're just going to go to custom links because we're going to create jump buttons that go down to different parts of our website, kind of like I showed you earlier in Elementor. So the first one that we're going to do is about. So underneath link text, I'm going to say about, just like that. And then for URL, I'm going to say hashtag about, just like that. And then add that to menu. And that's going to jump to our about section, which I now realize we have not added a menu anchor to that. So we're going to go ahead and do that in just a bit. So hashtag about, add to menu. And then link text, we're going to say videos, and then say hashtag videos, and then add to menu. And then photos, underneath link text, and then hashtag photos, and then add to menu. And then link text, I'm going to say web design, and then hashtag web design, and then add to menu. And then I'm going to say follow me, and then hashtag follow me, add to menu. And then lastly, contact, and then hashtag contact, add to menu. Cool, so now that they're all added to this menu over here on the left, you can actually reorder them if you want. So first let me show you what they look like. So I'm going to say hide controls down here. And here you can see we've got all of our menu items, and we can reorder them if we just change the order here. So if I wanted about to be more down here, it'll switch it right up here. So now about's in the middle. And then you can also create a drop-down menu if you create kind of a stair-stepper effect. So let's say I wanted to put videos underneath about. I don't know why I would, but for the sake of showing you, if you just drag this over to the right, it'll create kind of this little stair-stepper looking effect, and that'll create a drop-down menu right here. So about now goes to videos. So if you have a shop and you're maybe got t-shirts and then you've got men and women in the drop-down, or whatever it might be, this is how you would create a drop-down menu. But in this case, I'm going to drag that back over to the left because I want these all to be on the same line. Cool, so now that that is done, I'm going to click on publish to save my work. Cool. And then we can also change the colors of these. So I kind of like the blue already, but I'm going to show you how to change it. So I'm going to just hit the back arrow, and then back arrow one more time, and then just go down to global right here. Click on that, and then just go to colors, and then just click on base colors. And then here you can change the link color right here. So for link color, I'm going to just do this as a green just so you can see. Cool, so now if I hover over, you can see that they're now green, which is pretty cool. But I'm going to go back to, let's say, like a light blue, kind of like that. And then now if I were to click on it, so let's say videos, jumps down to videos, which is pretty cool. Photos jumps down to photos, and so on. So those buttons are working and it's looking good. So let's go ahead and publish. And now we're going to work on the the footer. So let's scroll down to the bottom, and here is our footer. And this one's pretty easy. So if we just click on the little pencil icon right here, it's going to open up where we can edit the text. And right now, section 1 is set to text, and then you can also set section 2 to be a menu if you want. So with section 1 set to text, let's just change, let's say powered by the theme author. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. Just like that. So now it's just copyright 2020 Dale McManus, or whatever your site title is, or if you want to put something else in, you can just delete that and put something else in. And then for section 2, we can actually add a menu. So for section 2, let's go to footer menu. And then it's going to say assign a footer menu. So let's go do that now. So we're just going to go hit the back arrow, and then back arrow one more time. And then we're going to go back to menus. And then I'm going to create a new menu because this is going to be our footer menu. So create a new menu. We're going to call it footer menu. And then we're going to add it to the footer menu location. And then I'm just going to say next. And now we can add some items to it. So items that you would want to have in your footer menu would be something like a privacy policy or terms and conditions and things like that. So let's go ahead and say add new items. And then underneath, I'm going to close custom links. And then underneath pages, I'm going to open that up. I'm going to add a new page. So I'm just going to create one that says terms and conditions. And then say add. And then I'm going to create privacy policy. And then add. And then I'll do a cookie policy. And then add. And then obviously you would want to go into these pages, which I'll show you in just a bit, to actually add terms and conditions and privacy policies and so on. I'm not going to get too far into adding those things, but I will show you how to edit these pages. Okay, so with that done, now I'm going to hide the controls. And you can see we've got terms and conditions, privacy policy, and cookie policy. So our footer's looking pretty good. The only thing we have left is this little border right here. And it's hard to see, but we're going to get rid of it. So let's open this back up and go to the back arrow. And then back arrow one more time. And then go down to footer. And then for footer bar, we're going to open that up. And then if we scroll down, we've got the border size. So let's just change that to a 0. There we go. And now that little border is gone and our footer is looking good. I don't think we need to do anything else to it. So let's go ahead and click on publish. So now we can move on to step number 8, which is how to create pages and posts. So let's say that you wanted a whole separate about me section. So maybe instead of see portfolio, you maybe said read more. And if you click on it, it would take you to a whole separate about me page where you could write more about yourself. Well, if you want to create a page like that, just go ahead and click on the X. And then we're going to go back to our site title up here and go to dashboard. And then over here on the left-hand menu, you'll see pages. So from here, we're just going to go to add new. And then here you can create a new page. So let's just say it was an about me page. So we'll just say about me, like that. And then you could write anything you want in here. You could also add images. So if I just went up to this little add block button and clicked on that, you could add an image like this. So I'll click on that one. And then I'll just go to my media library. And for the sake of showing you this, I'm just going to choose the same one that's on my home page, just this picture of me. I'm going to say select, and you can resize it over here by clicking and dragging on this line. And then you can also mess with the alignment. So let's say you maybe wanted it to align center. You could do that. So it's looking pretty good. And then you can click below and you can add some text in here if you wanted to, write about yourself. And you basically just work on this the same way you would like a Word document. It's pretty simple. So after you added all this stuff to your new page, you could just click on publish and then you'd be able to access that page in the menu. So that in a nutshell is how to create a new page. And now for posts, if you want to create a new post, it's literally the exact same thing, but a blog post is basically something that you update and you add more of them to your site and you basically become a source of information for a certain niche. So let's say that you are really into growing out your beard and you want to write a whole blog about beards and how to groom beards and trim them and take care of them. I don't know, I'm just making this up. That you would want to do through blog posts. So in order to do that, you would just go to posts and then go over to add new. And we're just going to leave because I'm not going to save this about me page because there's really not much to it. Cool. So now we're in a new post and it would be the exact same thing. So we would say, let's say I wanted to do something about photography and I would say something like that. And then I could also add an image in here and then I could just start typing. So I could say, location number 1 and then say whatever the location is. And you can bold this, whatever you want to do to make it look good. It's basically like submitting a report from school. You want to make sure that everything is formatted correctly and looking nice. And you would basically just write the top 10 most beautiful locations for photography and write some information about them. And it works very similarly to pages. So that's just a brief overview of how to create pages and posts. So now we can move on to step number 9, which is to edit for mobile and tablet. So making sure that your website is fully responsive on not only a desktop, but also a mobile device and a tablet device is extremely important, because over 52% of global online traffic is done on a mobile device. So that basically means more people are searching the internet on their phones than they are on computers. So making sure that it also looks good on mobile is a must. So let's go do that. So I'm just going to go back up to my site name and say visit site. And I'm going to just say leave because I'm not going to save this post. And then from here, I'm just going to go to edit with Elementor. Cool. And then I also mentioned earlier that we created an about button, but it doesn't go anywhere yet because we did not add a menu anchor. So let's go ahead and add that real quick before we forget. So I'm going to go to menu anchor and just drag that in. Right around, I'll just do it right above the image here. And then I'm going to call this about, just like that. There we go. And then just click on update. And if you actually close this, it won't actually interfere with the sizing or anything. It's actually invisible. It's just to let this button know that now, boom, we jump to the about section. And it's a little off. You might have to play with the location a little bit, but you get the idea. Okay. So let's go ahead and edit for mobile and tablet. So in order to do that, you can just go down to this little button down here that says responsive mode and click on that. And we'll just click on mobile. And it's going to give us this cool little simulation phone where we can scroll through our website and make sure that everything looks good. And again, I pre-built this already, so I already made sure that it was looking pretty good on mobile. But it couldn't hurt to just go through and make sure that everything is looking okay, which it looks like it is. Cool. So we're going to go back up, and one thing I do not really like is my name is a little big. So let me show you how if you edit on mobile, it won't actually affect the other devices and why that is. Okay, so I'm going to click on this little edit heading button. And then if I want to edit the size, I'm just going to go over to style and then over to typography. And then here you can see the size, and there's this little mobile device symbol. It's pretty hard to see, it's pretty small, but as long as you've got that symbol here, you can change this however you want, and it's not going to affect the desktop. So just to show you, I'm going to make it absolutely huge like that. And then I'm going to go back over to desktop, and you can see it's totally fine. So I'm going to go back to mobile, and boom, it's huge again. So whatever has that symbol is not going to affect desktop or tablet. So for this case, I'm going to make this small, maybe, I don't know, more like that. I think that looks pretty good. And then you also can check tablet as well. So I'll go over to tablet, make sure that's looking good, which it looks like it is. Cool. So I recommend just making sure that everything looks okay. Sometimes the padding can be off. So if you're on a section, let's say I'll go to these 6 dots for this About Me section, and then go over to Advanced. The padding can sometimes be off. Let's say that, it's kind of crazy. Let's say it's like, looks like that. And all of a sudden you're like, why is this section not here? Why is this not showing up? Double check the padding. So we've got this little mobile symbol. So make sure that you're on the mobile device. And then just make sure that the padding looks good. Which typically, if you just delete the values and let it default and kind of guess, it turns out pretty good. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to go ahead and click on Update. Okay, so now we can move on to step number 10, which is to publish your website. So let's make sure that your website is live for everyone to see. So to do that, we're going to go up to the little hamburger looking symbol up here, and then go over to Exit to Dashboard. And then from here, we're going to go back over to Dashboard. So just click on that. And then you should have a notification up here at the top in yellow that says your site is currently displaying a coming soon page. Once you're ready to launch your site, click here. So all you got to do is click here. Awesome. And then you'll get this little congratulations message down here that says your site is now live. Click here to view it. So I'm just going to click here and check it out. Awesome. So far it's looking good. Our animations are working. Got the fade ins, kind of slides in, it's looking good. Everything appears to be spaced out correctly and working just fine. And again, make sure that you test your contact form. And let's go ahead and test our buttons up here as well, which appear to be working. Alright guys, so that was how to create a personal or portfolio website step by step. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit that like button. YouTube's algorithm loves that stuff and it helps my channel grow. And if you want to see more awesome videos on how to create professional websites, how to make money with your websites, and so much more, then please consider subscribing to my channel. You will not be sorry. Alright guys, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.